Okay. All right. I think we are recording.
All right.
I don't know if anyone will be able to find us since I had to restart this 3 times today. I'm going to just totally blame this on the fact that Blab is in beta. It's not. I have that same thing. Show it.
Yeah, this is my thing. It's got my initial on it. It's got a handle on it, and it's got a bottle opener on the other side.
Mine is a little bit more rustic. It's got the bottle opener, but the handle is wood, not metal. But
this was it was a
wedding
party gift kind of thing. Yeah. So I think my sister-in-law now actually screwed all the stuff onto it. I think it was just the wooden piece, and she modified it because they got it cheaper that way or something. So that's cool. I'll get to use the bottle opener because I actually brought a beer.
So do you want to kick off the show today?
Sure, we'll do the thing.
Yep.
I gotta drink my LaCroix, also my favorite drink.
Oh, okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's SEO and IPAs. It's a fun weekly hangout about inbound marketing, entrepreneurship, and more for cool people of all shapes, stripes, and colors. As always, I'm Daniel Barrett here from AdWordsNerds.com. That's AdWordsNerds.com. And with me, as always, is the brains behind the operation. Officially, the only reason anybody ever watches this show. It's Patty DeLessio from ReinventInteractive.com. It's ReinventInteractive.com. I didn't have a joke for today. I didn't have a joke. I kind of went through all my jokes. We could do, if she was a president, she would be Abraham Lincoln. It's Patty DeLessio from ReinventInteractive.com. Patty, how are you, my wonderful friend?
Oh, that was
As always, as we all know, your personal brand, the sexy SEO.
Right.
Because that moving women in technology forward, it's the
right.
Actually, there was I don't know if you saw, there was Randy McFishkin.
Okay.
Kind of tweeted an article about this woman that wrote about things that people say to her at tech conferences or whatever.
Oh no, I'll have to look for it.
It was depressing.
Oh yeah, I was going to actually call you out on the fact that you were somehow associating or relating my issues with starting this Blab today with your wife's issues and inability to start the
women in technology that can't get their stuff together. Am I right, fellas?
I'm like, you better not be doing what I think you're doing, Dan. So.
Yeah, sorry. There's not enough.
Is that what you were doing?
I'm sure your problem is you wish Blab was more like Pinterest.
Sure, that's right. If I could just pin a Blab, it'd be.
I don't get it. Where's the pinning? But
right.
It wasn't so much the fact that you were having trouble. It's the fact that you were you couldn't explain. I'm on the other side of this.
Just stop.
We're texting.
Just stop.
You explain what's happening, and it drives me crazy.
Nope. Just stop. You're already in that hole. You can't get out. But anyway, you have a beer today for the first time in a bunch of weeks. So let me see what you chose to drink. This is SEO and IPA. So each week, Dan and I will taste a beer and then do a deep dive into some fun topic about running your business, SEO, SEM, inbound marketing, whatever, right? So this is the taste the beer part of the show. So go ahead. What do you got?
So all of these beers, I'm going to do my thing down here. Hold on. Mm-hmm. I get to use this thing. So all of my beers, they were in this thing that my brother got for me for being at his bridal party. So he picked these beers for me.
Okay.
So I did not pick these beers, but I'm very curious. So the first one is Bad Martha. Have you ever seen this? Oh, it's called Bad Martha, Martha's Vineyard Ale.
Okay.
And it says it's from, what is the company? Oh, I think it's Bad Martha is the company.
Oh, okay.
So it says, get seduced by our flagship ale, the finest English malts, New England hops, and grape leaves from Martha's Vineyard. Give this extra special bitter a devilish honey hue and a smooth caramel flavor. Let's see if this thing works. Okay. I'm going to get this all over my desk, aren't I?
I don't know. I hope not.
Hey, I did it.
Yay!
Thanks, Andrew. Happy wedding. I like the cover. The
cap.
The cap says "Get Bad," and then inside the cap it says, "How bad can it be? Not rhetorical." Which I like. That's like a clever little thing. So anyway, Bad Martha, Martha's Vineyard Ale. I'm remembering now I have no way to transport this home, so let's see.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Tell me the style again. What is it?
So it's an ale. It sounds like it's kind of their take on an English ale.
Okay.
It is.
It is
on the thing on the label actually says malt beverage brewed with spice. It is. It's malty right when you drink it, and then after there's kind of like a citrusy, kind of almost like an orangey kind of thing going on. So it's brewed with grape leaves. It's good.
I can't imagine what flavor a grape leaf imparts. There's not really much.
Had those like stuffed grape leaves, the grape place.
I love stuffed grape leaves. Well,
it doesn't taste like that, but that's also a thing that has
little rice, little meat.
This is like not bad. It's not something that I love.
Bring up the label for me real quick, nice and close. Oh,
I can't.
The other way,
I can never be a TV weatherman because I can't understand how.
Yeah, got it. All right,
sexy lady. She's got a tattoo. The tattoo says "bad."
So here's what I've got today. I've got a Saranac gin.
Saranac.
Saranac.
No, it's Saranac.
It is not.
It is. We went to the brewery.
You did?
Yeah.
I've been saying this wrong forever? No.
Saranac. Yeah. You say Saranac?
Saranac. Yeah. I thought it was named. Isn't that the name of the town? All right, you're killing me. All right, so it's this. It's a. I hate you. I hate you. Every time. Damn it.
All right.
It's a session IPA. It's a session IPA. Can you read it?
Yeah, so it says Gen 4?
Yes.
What is that? That's just the name of it, or? No, you don't know.
It took him 4 tries to get it right, maybe. It's actually not bad. It's really like Saronic. I hate you.
How Saronic? Am I right?
Saronic, I know. Anyway,
that's cool. It's a session, so it's lighter, less alcohol.
Yep, this was shared with me from my neighbors. I've never had it before. I don't really drink this beer a lot. This brewer.
Yeah.
I think they used to have a black and tan that I used to drink in college. It's kind of.
Are they one of those companies that like got bought by big?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to find out.
I don't know that. I don't know that for a fact.
Anyway.
Out there. I got a hands up, so maybe that means sure.
Oh, maybe somebody's following you. I can't prop myself, so we got to see how this goes. So Dan.
Yes.
Thank you. And by the way, you can join us if anybody wants to join in. We've got an open
gender preferences.
That's right. So today, this is now you and I have been doing this particular show for, a few years now, right? And this is always one of my favorite topics that we come back to because I sit here and take notes and you school me on all the interesting, like I said in the blab, the auto magically kind of like tie your business together and what some of your business automations are. And you've been playing around with some new ideas because your business is changing a little bit. Your teams are sort of growing and differentiating, and there's always new tools to try out. So
yes,
you are my guy on the street. I don't know. You're like the guy who tries it out. Excuse me, ma'am. Now back to Dan.
Yeah, ma'am. Just leave the beer. That's fine.
But no, so you test this stuff out, you test drive it, you report back, and I learn on your.
It's a never ending process, right? So my big thing, of course, was I'm shifting a lot of my business away from web design to AdWords.
Yep.
And so we're building the processes for that. And I don't know why it took me literally to this point in my life to actually pick a specific target market.
Yeah.
But since I did, that's like amazing because so much of what we do is now systematized and is a process, and it's there's a lot of stuff that repeats, whereas like before everything was always custom. It was very hard to do that. So then the other change was I added team members. So we have a team of 3 now. It's myself and a head designer, and then Justin, who's been my kind of project manager and is now as an account manager. So a lot of the challenge has been taking stuff that I always do by myself and then effectively delegating it. And so I really wanted to make a system that went from the time that someone learns about us all the way to their account is 100% set up, and I didn't want to have to touch it except once, right? Which we'll talk about. So I ended up using a whole lot of different tools to get there.
Right.
The biggest ones, I think the biggest shifts for me are, or the biggest things are kind of the stuff that's in the list, which is we started using Trello, we started using Slack. I've always used Zapier, and I love Zapier, but we use that a lot. And then I use Evernote. Yeah. And for the marketing stuff, I'm using ActiveCampaign, which I really, really like.
Right.
So is there a part of that you think is better to talk about that we specifically want to talk about, or I could just go through the entire thing? It's sort of like,
I mean, I like, and I assume that you're probably still doing some of that kind of onboarding automation that I'm always a big fan of, where you're going from, you have the phone conversations on the agreement, you send the invoice, and then at the moment that the invoice gets paid, it triggers this series of events. And I assume that you probably have like a even fancier version of that. So I think that that's really cool. Then how that kind of relates into the project management piece. Oh, hi Jamie. Hi Jamie Broderick.
Hey.
So why don't you start with that? And then maybe we can dive into some of the areas that maybe go a little bit deeper, or
sure.
I don't know, where it makes sense.
Okay. So I'll talk about a little bit about so the thing that kind of sits in the background of everything is Slack right now. So basically, I just have it set up as to anybody that works with me. They are available if they're at work. They're in Slack, and so everybody's in Slack all day.
Okay, and Slack is just
it's a chat basically.
It's a chat.
Dedicated chat room for a company. You have an app.
Yep.
The thing that's nice, I was using HipChat. We moved from HipChat to Slack. Both are free. Under a certain thing. So the reason that we moved to Slack primarily was it just looks nicer. It's sort of a better design. And you have channels in Slack. So for example, we have channels for every project. And so if I need to talk about AdWords management, I go in the AdWords management channel. I talk in there. I'm not crowding everybody else's stuff with that. Yeah. And it's just really nice. So the thing that I really like about it is that it builds camaraderie, because obviously we don't work in the same office. Originally, I wanted to do that, but everybody's got kids, everybody's got lives, and so working remotely makes a lot more sense. Mm-hmm. But you still get the kind of water cooler kind of environment, right?
Yeah, let me ask a question. Isn't that good also to for retrieval? Oh, what was that decision made on, the AdWords, right? You can kind of like filter it or hashtag it, and you could. Yeah,
well, Slack has a really good search. Slack has a really good search functionality, which HipChat didn't really have. So it is significantly easier to find things in Slack, and a lot of stuff goes on in Slack, right? So if I need to send Justin kind of a quick thing like, hey, I just got off the phone and blah, 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 this happened, I just put that in Slack, and I know it's kind of being archived. Slack integrates with a lot of stuff too, and so I kept the thing that I liked about HipChat in Slack, which was I used Zapier to make Slack like my console for my entire business. So every time we get a payment, it pings in Slack. Every time someone misses a payment, it pings in Slack. It pings the appropriate channel. When a Trello card is updated, and we'll talk about Trello a little bit, but whenever it's updated or moved or the status changes, it posts a thing in Slack. Whenever we get a new free trial kind of person signs up, that gets pinged in Slack, right? So everything, basically I can log into Slack in the beginning of the day,
right,
and scan very quickly and get a really good sense of like, okay, what changed over the weekend? What changed overnight? And like, I don't have to go into my email. I can just see everything there. So Slack is great. So that's kind of sitting under everything. Right.
So there was a question here. Brian's asking about how Slack compares to Asana. So they're two very different ideas.
Talking about Trello. Trello and Asana are sort of similar task management things. And I don't know, I really haven't used Asana. I mean, I like Trello because, again, it's free. And I think they're fairly interchangeable. Both Trello and Asana connect via Zapier to a lot of different services. And so I think it's more of most of these things are taste, right? It's like your personal preferences. Like, I actually don't love Trello. I use Trello because Justin, the guy who works with me, loves Trello. And for me, it's like my whole kind of idea with these systems from the very beginning this time around, has been that I am not going to be using these systems for very long. Sooner or later, we're going to hire more people. Justin's going to manage those people, and I will like vanish into the night and focus on the stuff that I want to focus on. Right. So I built these kind of systems not necessarily with myself in mind. So Trello is a good example of that. So so Slack kind of sits under everything as like our water cooler, as the way we talk to each other. And I love it, and I like being connected with everyone. So then we've got kind of two basic systems, right, that we spend a lot of time setting up right now. One is the onboarding stuff, and one is the actual process of getting things done, the delegation, the setup, stuff like that.
The status.
Yeah, exactly. So managing an ongoing account, right? So in the onboarding phase, I'm using primarily ActiveCampaign, and it's really a simple process. On the website, on the Adverse Nerds website, we offer it's actually a 37-day free trial. So it's like 37-day free trial. We'll manage, we'll set up your account for you for free for a month. See if you like it. See if you get some leads and deals and so on. And if you love it, you keep it. And if you don't, you can cancel at any time. So it's a good call to action. It's very low risk, but it's sort of checks a lot of the boxes for me. So it's like people that want to get started, so they're already kind of more serious. Stuff like that is just kind of a good way to approach people.
Who's the media?
They do. They always do.
Right.
So they're always paying Google.
Yeah.
We're primarily doing AdWords, right? So they always pay for their ads. We're just talking about the management fees.
Got it. Okay.
So basically on the website, they can sign up for the free trial pretty much from anywhere, but basically sign up for the free trial. So it's great. That automatically, whenever they fill out that form, it emails me. It also logs that form in Evernote. So we have an Evernote copy of everybody's contact information and the fact that they were a prospect or a free trial prospect kind of saved just in case I ever need to search for their stuff. It then kicks them into ActiveCampaign as well. So ActiveCampaign we use to run our email follow-ups as well as it's our CRM. And so I have like a pipeline in the ActiveCampaign CRM where as soon as they fill out the form, they get put into the just filled out the form stage of the pipeline, right? And the pipeline's got a couple different stages. So it's like they just filled out the form. They have made their initial trial. They basically have to put in their credit card, right? So then it's like, have they done the next step? Then are they active, meaning their trial is actually running? And then did we win or lose them at the end of the month? Okay. So they fill out the form, they get put in Evernote, they automatically get put in ActiveCampaign. That triggers a follow-up campaign that starts about 30 minutes after they fill out the form. Nice. So that 30 minutes is there because the next thing they get taken to once they fill out the form is, great, here's what I need you to do. I need you to enter your credit card. And what it's going to do is put you in the trial because I don't want to have to remember to bill you later. It's just going to automatically bill you at 37 days, but we give you a week to get set up. You're not even going to need that. Then you get 30 free days. It does all the explanation kind of right up front, but it says you have to enter your credit card. Okay. So obviously if they don't, the follow-up process that kicks off is, hey, we need your credit card. Hey, we need your credit card. Hey, we need your credit card. And then if they don't ever do it, it pings me in ActiveCampaign to say, hey, you should call this person up and be like, hey, what's the deal? Like, I noticed you signed up. It also puts them in my contactually and stuff like that. So in any case, that's kind of that step. When they fill out the card, that pings Slack so that we know that someone filled out the forms or filled out the cards. We know someone's relatively far along. When they do that, that moves their account in ActiveCampaign to the next stage of the CRM. So it moves them from just filled out the form to also filled out the credit card form. right? So it's like I have that in there. That's a different thing. So when they get in there, basically the next step is they need to schedule a starter call with me. So if they have filled out the card but not filled out the starter call, the follow-up campaign is like, hey, do the call, schedule the call, schedule the call. And then again, very similar to not filling out the payment form, right? But it's a little more urgent because obviously now we have their credit card, so we want to get them started, right? The way they schedule the call is they go, I've been using Acuity scheduling, which is like Meet Me or Schedule Once, both of which I was using. Or Meet Me is Schedule Once. What was the other one? Calendly I was using for a while. The entire reason I switched to Acuity, Acuity scheduling, the only reason I switched there, because I actually like it less, is that they have a Zapier integration. So that means that I can trigger follow-ups based on if they've scheduled or not. And that was huge because I was having a really hard time doing that otherwise. I will. I'll put the link in. You keep talking. I just signed up for Acuity as well. I like it. I like the form that you can submit with it, right? It allows you to, fill out that form. How's my sound, by the way? Can you hear me? That's fine. Yeah, you're great.
Okay. I'm mucking around with my mic as we talk. I've got some echoing. But you used that other app too a while ago that I thought was, again, you're trying all this stuff. You're like road testing all this for me. But there was one of the apps that it compared both your calendars and found a mutually open time. I
think I messed around with that a little bit. I can't even remember what it was. Are you talking about Doodle?
Oh, maybe that was it. Yeah, maybe that was it. Okay.
Doodle is for scheduling with a bunch of people. So let's say you have 4 people. Basically, you set the times and everyone clicks the times that they're available and it finds the time that you're all available.
Okay. All right, so you keep going. I'm getting the link for.
So Acuity plugs in with Zapier, which means I can use it to change people in ActiveCampaign, which was a big one for me. So if they schedule the call with me, that gets put into my Google Calendar via Acuity scheduling, so they just automatically get scheduled. That puts them in an appropriate follow-up in ActiveCampaign. Basically, it's like a reminder and whatever. It then sends them to a form, which is a Typeform. So Typeform is the company I use to create my online forms. I just like them. It's pretty cheap, and it works really well on mobile. So the thing that is really cool about that is that they fill out the Typeform. The Typeform is basically all of the information we need to get started. And so it's, what's your account login? What's this? What's that? What's your goals? Et cetera. Very quick form. When they fill that out, that gets automatically put into an Evernote note. So when I have a call with someone, I just search for their name in Evernote and pull up all the notes from their form. So the call is just me going over the form and being like, hey, do we have all the information we need? Hey, I noticed you didn't fill out your CRM login. Do you not have a CRM? What's the deal, right? Mm-hmm. So that kind of just sets everything up so that when I come into the office every day and I look at my calendar, I'll see people scheduled as Kickstarter calls, which are the beginning. I'll be like, great, thank you so much. I have all their information in front of me, even though I have not touched them yet in this whole process, right? So they get on the phone with me. And the call itself is part of the process because I want to form a relationship with someone very quickly. So the call is we go over their information. I joke around. I try to learn about them. And then the whole time on that Evernote note that's been automatically created, I'm taking notes. So when I create the Evernote note, I leave a little part that says call notes. So I'm making notes about what they want, sort of what they're looking for, any sort of specifics, anything like that. Mm-hmm. So once that call is done, I go over expectations and sort of billing, and I say hey, just so you know, here's your billing date. We schedule future calls, so all my future calls are scheduled in Google Calendar, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. When the call's done, I go back into ActiveCampaign and I move their little CRM person from the scheduled to call thing to the active pipeline. Okay. Great. In Zapier, it's set up that whenever someone moves into the active pipeline, it pings Slack with Justin's name in it. It says, hey, this person just moved into the active pipeline. It then automatically creates creates a Trello card for the account setup in our account setup board. So basically, the new card is pinged. It's got Justin's name on it, right? And it says hey, here's the setup stuff. Now, the Trello card has some of the steps like lined out, but it also says for full documentation, go to this note in Evernote. So in Evernote, everybody that works with me has the same Evernote notebook shared. They all have access to everything within that notebook. So if they need to click on that link to go, they can get the full, the extensive documentation. This was a lot of the work for this process, was going through the process over and over, documenting like where do people get confused? What do they need? What files do they need? So for example, there's sort of a standard setup file that we upload into AdWords every time we set up an account that's saved in a Google Drive folder with the most current version is always there. So everybody gets the most current version of that file synced to them automatically. They're always uploading the same version, et cetera, et cetera. So that card has a due date that's 48 hours from the time that we set it, which is our sort of setup time. Justin goes through and then does that. When he's done, he moves the card from the to do to the done thing. That actually sends them the update that says, hey, your account is actually set up now. We're going to turn it on. Let me know in 24 hours if you're not ready or whatever. Otherwise, we just set it to go. Everything's fine. That moves them into the
so wait, back up.
What's that?
Back up. So when you moved that card in Trello, is there a zap that goes off that then maybe emails you? Just
runs on Zapier. Yeah. So when we move the card in Trello, that triggers the Zapier element that sets up their future. They're on their management Trello board, which is a different one, and then also moves them in ActiveCampaign to a follow-up process that's all about, hey, here's what to expect from the account. So it sends like more educational messages, like here's what we're doing, like here's why we do it this way, stuff like that.
Nice. And what about Slack? And Slack is getting all of these updates as well?
Slack gets all the updates. So if everyone's in, so basically it's like if Justin's in Slack, he'll see like, oh, hey, the card was updated, because otherwise it's not really an easy way to like, you can email them or whatever, but it's just kind of more convenient to be in here and be like, oh, okay. So for example, the other day, a notification came through and said, oh, the Ben account is ready to be set up. And he said, oh, cool. Is this someone that just started? I'm like, yeah, I just talked to them. They're ready to go. By the way, make sure you check in their Evernote because, I made this note, and this note. And he's like, great. And he set up the account, did the whole thing without me, and I went home. So the whole process from account to them learning about us, to being curious about the trial, to putting in their credit card, everything is automated. And then at the end of the month, it charges them and we just kind of move forward, right? So it's it took a long time to set up. Basically, it's like you just set up like each little piece and make sure each little piece works. But it's been working really, really well. And Trello is good for what I really wanted in the management process was the ability to log in and look at something and be able to tell who's where, like what's been done, what's behind, what's not behind, right? And so Trello is good for that because it has a visual. The boards, we use the kind of sort of like a modified Kanban method, which is sort of to do, doing, and done. So it's like you can move things around, and so Justin can see what needs to be done. I can see how much has changed from one point to the other, and it's been really good. So it's a lot of moving pieces, but
tell me about Trello. I have to give this another try. A few years ago, I'm a project manager from a consulting kind of capacity, from a while ago in a previous career. So I love me some project management tools. I kind of like Asana. I like, I used to love the old, Microsoft project management tools. So I found Trello a little bit weak. I found those cards to be kind of limiting. I found them to be, it was hard to put a lot of information in them. Like I kind of wanted to use it for sort of, but I guess that's maybe where Evernote would come in. So it's really, I guess would you say it's better for like the small tasks, just moving those small tasks forward?
It's
as far as like doneness,
best in combination with other stuff.
Does it? Okay.
It works best with a combination of other stuff. So for example, I don't use cards to like load a bunch of information. I load the information in Evernote and I link to them from the cards, right? So the cards are limiting in some ways because like you can't see into the card by looking at it, but it has improved a lot. And the other thing too is to keep in mind that I'm not the one that's going to be using it, right? Like employees are the ones that are going to be using it. So it's what makes sense to them. And I think too, like the idea of like moving the car from one place to the other, it's nice because in Zapier that can trigger any sort of automations, right? And then you can, I like the visual piece of it. You know, it's not my personal favorite thing in the world, but you know, we started playing with like Basecamp because we use Basecamp for web design.
Right.
And it does not work for this kind of thing. It's just like it has to be very task based. You can't have everyone kind of siloed in their own thing. And so for that kind of stuff, it works well. It's like any of these systems is like the more you use it, the more you get into it, the more you can get out of it.
Right.
There's a lot of personal taste involved, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I have to, you know, because there's a lot of, I don't know, sort of ideas around contingency that I can't always capture, you know, that I want to say, you know, what's, you know, after this happens, then this can happen, or what we're waiting for, kind of like where you are within a sequence. Yeah, we do have a couple of questions here. I don't know if you want to jump into some of these, but yeah, I was finding that there was something about it I couldn't quite get right or make work, but I have given it a try.
I initially tried using it several years ago as a personal organizer, and I hated it.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's funny because I think a lot of it has to do with your personality. So I love Evernote. I put everything into Evernote. Right. Evernote works the way that I think, which is not much. So it's like I dump everything into Evernote. I have some basic organization, but I rely on the search to pull up stuff that I need. Right. Justin, who's the guy that was originally like, we really need to move to Trello, and is doing the account management and stuff. Justin's whole thing was Evernote is like a garbage pail. It's like basically you just dump everything in it, and he hates it. He hates that it's unorganized. He hates it's like you can't easily move thing from one to the other. And so a lot of it's personality, right? Yeah. So for me, the reason I love Evernote is the same exact reason that Justin hates it. Like Evernote for me is like when I was working on a video this morning and I just typed in like YouTube marketing and pulled up every article I've read in the last 3 years about YouTube marketing and plus notes that I had made about YouTube marketing. I'm like, oh, right, this is stuff that I'm supposed to know. Right. You know, so it works much more like a brain kind of system, whereas Trello is much more regimented.
Yeah. Well, if you have a history and you've got all your stuff in your tool and it's easy to retrieve out of it, you know, I think that's great. Now, as far as like tasks go, I started getting into this app a while ago, and you and I have talked about this in the past, but Workflowy. Workflowy is how I think.
Oh, no. What? What's Workflowy?
Workflowy. There, I just added the link. So it is, you literally just make lists and then you can indent. And then you can hashtag. Right. I mean, it's kind of how I think in that sort of, you know, list direction. But what I started doing at one point is I had a Workflowy for each of my clients, and I would hashtag things as to-dos, you know, and then I would, you know, important, and then which ones were active and which ones were inactive. And if you do this whole system, again, like you have this history with Evernote, and you have a system on how you use it, and you can kind of do this historical, you know, view and search. You know, Workflowy, if you get into it, can actually be kind of quite powerful. Like it's quite simple. You can just, you know, you just type, you return, you tab, you can tab forward and back. And, you know, I found that to be really good but again, it's not triggering zaps. It's not, you know, communicating with other things. It's not, you know, taking it forward. But anyway, I don't know if anyone else has worked with Workflowy, or if you're using a system and an automation system that you've used. Come on in. We've got an open seat. We can include you in on the chat. But oh, here we go. Hi, Brian.
Hey guys.
Hi there. Good to see you again.
Nice planter back there.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. Like your flower.
I hated Asana when I started using it in an agency. I just hated it. Yeah. But we just went through this massive upgrade with the platform, and it's really worth it for you to take a second look, because I've done exactly, Dan, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I work in social selling, so I have to have a very sophisticated onboarding process, and Trello just wasn't working for me. I just couldn't deal with the cards. There wasn't enough triggers and different things that I needed it to do. They were automated. So I moved to Asana recently, and I just laid this whole process down. And all of the core elements of what you're just talking about, Dan, I pulled it off in Asana in less than 30 days. I got that entire process mapped out. And it's for Fortune 500 companies. We're doing like major integrations. So it was super easy. I was just kind of pleasantly shocked at how easy it was to get.
How does it differ from, so compare it to Trello and be like, how does it differ and what do you like more about it?
Well, just setting up those channels and integrating them directly with Slack, being able to stay on task within those channels and be able to cross work in the platforms. It would be ideal to have all of this working in one platform, but nobody's built it yet. But you raise a really valid point is that there should be some type of system to do this where it could actually be on one platform and just simply have API integrations like we're talking about. And Asana's just simply become the closest thing to that for me.
Yeah, I go back and forth on like whether I want one big system or whether I kind of want to piecemeal everything together. Right.
I hate the piecemeal.
What about
too many moving parts and too many things to be logging in and out of. And I just really started to streamline that. And I'm down to about four platforms that I have. And then I've got a programmer to put it all in one dashboard for me.
I just like high-fived you 50 times. It's funny because I was like, oh, he doesn't have any high fives. I'm going to give him high fives. And then I was like, it's weird because he's talking and I'm like staring right at him. And this was like.
I don't think they're high fives, Dan. I think they're props. You're giving props. But
someone's got to use Blab for some weird thing, right? That's the thing that has to happen, right?
It's really good to see this kind of valuable content being discussed on Blab because not too many people are doing it right now. A lot of people are kind of being a little self-serving about it. And it's good to see that, Dan, that you're willing to be, fairly transparent of that process because it's very difficult for small businesses to pull this off well and to learn how to do it. There's no place to go to learn this stuff.
No, it's weird, right? There's a guy, did you ever read or listen to his podcast or whatever, Ari Meisel?
I know a photographer named Meisel, but not this Meisel.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same guy. And I always think it sounds like Elie Wiesel, the guy who wrote Night, which is not that guy. That guy's podcast is kind of intense. No, this guy is like his website I think is called Less Doing. But anyway, he's kind of like an efficiency automation guy. His whole kind of claim to fame is he's kind of into like biohacking, that kind of thing. And so apparently he like cured his own Crohn's disease. So that's kind of like his thing. But he writes a lot about business, and his whole thing is like, I don't even want to know my business exists. Like it's like that kind of thing. So he kind of talks about a lot of interesting stuff. And one of the only people I've ever read that like really digs into it. Like he was the one that I learned about Fancy Hands from, and I abuse.
Talk about Fancy Hands.
So Fancy Hands is a virtual assistant service where you send them a task and they assign an assistant to it and they do it. So I use them for a lot of like things that I can't automate. I just automate an email that gets sent to Fancy Hands. And so like I cobbled together a paid subscription newsletter using PayPal and MailChimp and then Fancy Hands to kind of prune the list and stuff, right? So as long as you document what you're doing, they can do a lot of stuff. But I learned from Fancy. Actually, it was interesting. A couple of years ago, I was trying to decide between Fancy Hands and Zirtual. Zirtual being they give you like a dedicated person. And Zirtual actually a couple of weeks ago just emailed everybody and said, we're shutting down. There's no more service, and just kind of took it all away. They got purchased. They got bought out. So anyway, I really like Fancy Hands. They're great. But I learned about Fancy Hands through him. I learned about Gmail filtering, like how to abuse Gmail filters and stuff from him. And he's just a really interesting guy. But the whole reason I bring it up is because you're right. There's not really many people doing this. It must be because it's kind of hard because everybody's business is different, and that's kind of the challenge.
Well, I looked at your sales model, and you have a hyper niche, but you're using AdWords as your core engine, and then what's interesting is you have a business model that is a subscription-based model, which is interesting because that's a good way to create longevity, because what happens is people have a tendency to get caught up in performance metrics of AdWords, and if you're not performing well in AdWords, onto the next AdWords agency.
Right.
And it's good that you're focusing on a core area.
Yeah, it's our niche is interesting because it's a group of people that desperately need leads, that know they're supposed to do AdWords, but aren't very technical. And so we're the only partner agency that only works with those folks. So it's like, it's a micro kind of niche compared to a lot of others, but it's crazy because
it makes it easy for you to systemize that.
Absolutely.
Because you can optimize all of your AdWords campaigns, plug a client into that campaign, make a few minor tweaks to personalize it for them, and you're done. Whereas AdWords agency doing global accounts and running multiple different accounts, it's just a can of worms for a lot of AdWords agencies.
Everyone is so different, right? So it really is. It's crazy how much more efficient it's gotten, even to the point of like getting new clients where I was like, okay, great. There's 5 top podcasts on iTunes. I've already done interviews on 2 of them. That's where most of our clients have come from, right? So it's like a very kind of low input to output. But actually Justin just joined the channel, so he should jump in this seat. We'll talk to him. The thing that's really interesting to me that I'm really excited about, that we're trying to get into now that I don't know a whole lot about is. Did he jumped in and then he jumped out, I think. Oh, well, there you go. Well, I approve you. I approve of you.
I approve of you.
Yeah. Hey, that's Justin.
Hey.
Hi, Justin. Justin is the guy we were talking about who does all the actual work instead of.
Okay.
Here I am.
But so anyway, the thing that I'm really fascinated about, that I'm really excited about, that I haven't done much of yet, is the ability to, once we get to a certain number of clients, to use scripts to run tests across multiple accounts to find commonalities, right? So it's like right now we're starting with like a campaign size of almost like 3,000 or 4,000 keywords, and then using a very fast pruning process to like cut things down. So we start with the stuff that we think is going to work well, and then we get to a lot of regional specificity by cutting very quickly. But it's fascinating to me to kind of be able to run AdWords scripts and kind of be able to say like, okay, across all of our accounts, like where are the profit centers and where are the keywords that get sort of above average performance?
You probably you probably had a pretty broad negative keyword list when you started, and now you have a very refined one, I'm sure.
Well, we have sort of an insane one. It keeps growing. I don't know about these people are like people that buy houses, and I don't know if this is true of all industries. But if you look at the searches that come up in search queries, people are like, the people searching are insane.
Well,
like,
I'm in the mortgage space, and I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I run click-to-call campaigns, and we've put in so many negative keywords trying to prevent people from thinking that we're a bank when they call and calling about late mortgage payments. It drives us insane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That ain't even.
It just drives us insane.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's interesting. So, I mean, is that like kind of your focus, is the mortgage industry?
Well, it's one area that I'm working in right now. Yes, I'm working on a large mortgage broker in Atlanta, and we're doing a pilot project that's going to be rolled out to multiple locations in the States. So we're trying to get some traction with that. We've been doing a lot of heavy content marketing. We're running a click-to-call campaign, and we're also running Facebook. We have set up a Facebook sales funnel for the client, and it's effective, but there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, we worked on it for 3 months straight. We wrote 55 pieces of content that we had to just go full tilt with, but it's just starting to get traction now.
Yeah,
about 5 months of working full time.
Yeah, I got something for you. This will absolutely increase your click-through rate. You use this headline.
Okay.
Get a mortgage, not a less-gage.
Get what?
Get a mortgage, not a less-gage.
Dan, you're bad. You know what? I have a question for Jason. I want to hear. Justin. Holy shit! I'm sorry, Justin.
Jason.
We just.
Jason.
Radio opposite. Yeah. So okay. So bear with me. His name's out there. Sorry. So Dan has all of this work wired and triggered and moving all over the place. What are your, and you're the Trello guy, right? You're the reason that Dan started with the Trello.
I was an advocate of Trello. Yes. You're
an advocate of Trello. So what part of this auto magic tying together, triggering stuff either most impresses you, or you really, really rely on, or I don't know. Give us your impression with the work that Dan has you baked into here.
I gotta tell you, I missed a lot of what you guys were talking about originally. I just kind of joined like 5 minutes ago, so I don't want to repeat things that you had already talked about. But I think that one of the most impressive things that I've learned about through Dan is Zapier, and I think that it's an enormous time saver. Just the fact that it can keep everything so organized, especially generating Trello lists, and then moving things into Slack, which is what we use for our work chat. The way that it is kind of doing the work of somebody who would be managing all those tasks for us. And it does it hyper efficiently, and without error if you set it up properly. But I would probably say that is probably the most useful thing that I have learned so far. I was using Trello already, but I wasn't really using it too much in a collaborative sense. I was using it kind of just to keep track of my own stuff.
Right.
So this is the first time we've used it in a collaborative sense, and it has changed the way I use Trello a lot. When we first started using Trello, one of the things Dan had forwarded to me was an article about like Trello best practices. And I think that what was mostly contained in there was stuff that was pretty specific to the way these people were using Trello, that they were using it in a way that just didn't seem effective to me. One thing was like, when you first start up a Trello list, it starts you with a to-do, doing, and done default. That they didn't like. They didn't like doing it that way. They didn't like that they were putting it into those swim lanes, because they were finding that there wasn't any accountability. There wasn't anybody, you didn't know that this was your task or someone else's task or something. And I think that people expect that Trello is going to be able to do that sort of thing for them. But it's not. You need somebody who's able to take the responsibility of those things.
Right. Yeah,
that's like one of the weird things is like knowing who. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Patty.
No.
Sorry. You can cut me off. I actually have to go pick up a takeout order. I didn't really realize what I was joining here when you sent me the invite. So feel free to cut me off so that I can go get lunch.
Don't pick up your takeout. You should be at work.
Taskmaster. Nice to meet you.
All right. Yeah, see you later, dude.
Bye. So
that is one of the weird things. It's like it's a little hard to figure out like who's assigned what.
Yeah.
I think there's better ways to do that. I'm not in there a whole lot, to be honest. But
yeah. Well, I would say for anybody, I don't know. Let me know if you think this is true. Anyone that hasn't looked into automating, really look at the tools that you're currently using that you like, and then explore in things like Zapier and If This Then That. They both kind of work sort of similarly, and they're really not as hard as like, don't be scared of them. Like Zapier, both of them have like these recipes or these links already set up for you, and you just sort of go in and you give each of the applications permissions, and then all of a sudden, stuff is happening, and you're automating without even really kind of overthinking it. So I think that these, they've really taken the idea of the API connections and really hidden that from the user and made the interface really, really simple to use.
One of the things that we know that all SEOs should know how to do is program API connections.
Oh, right, exactly. Like our blab a few weeks ago.
That's a throwback to one of the early episodes. Yeah. If you guys, if people have been for us a whole long time. Yeah, I think it's like, you start by taking annoying stuff that you got to do and making it better.
That you're doing manually all the time, over and over again, and that you sometimes forget, and that isn't happening seamlessly. And look for kind of a solution to that, and there may already be one. In a lot of cases, if there's not, you can kind of wire these things together. So
personal stuff, like I started automating daily journaling in Evernote. So the way that I do it is I have a Zapier set to go off every day. It's set on a schedule, so I don't do it every day. But during the work week, it creates an Evernote note with the day's date, and it sets it with a to-do list, a reminder time of 8 in the morning, which is usually a little bit after my son wakes up, or 6:30 in the morning, whichever. Anyway, so it sets that in. So when I open up my phone, like I kind of look at my phone in the day, it's the first thing I see is that reminder, and I click on it, and it's pre-filled with the template. And I just stole it from this daily journaling thing that Tim Ferriss does, which is like an actual journal you can buy. But it basically says like 3 things you're really grateful for that happened yesterday or are going to happen. And then it's like 3 things, like what 3 things could you do today to make today really awesome? And so I just fill those things out. It's like the first thing I do in the morning, and it's always there when I need it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to make it. I don't have to remember it. It's just there. And so that's a really, really simple little automation. But I find that stuff has a big effect on how I feel about my day. So it's like you're trying to think of like 3 things you're grateful for. You have to kind of think about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, like there was that time where, my son fell on his face and that was really funny. And I'm grateful for that or whatever. So that even little things like that, I think, well. But,
well, you know what I would like to automate, Dan? I would like to automate my time tracking. I would like all of the work that I do to be tracked automatically. And I know that there's some that sort of do a little bit of that, but I would love for, I'm on this website that ties to this client, and then I can start tracking like every action I do on my desktop.
Doesn't I think both Harvest and FreshBooks both do that, right?
Sort of. I am on a Mac. Yes, Chris.
I think you have to click a thing to start.
I have to start it and stop it. Yeah. Some of those.
But you don't want to do that.
I've tried more versions of these things, and I just can't. Yeah, Harvest does do that.
Rescue time. You could use Rescue Time for that, probably.
That's
set up automatically.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Like, whenever I load this website, just start billing it. Like, I'm never going to look at this website if I'm not billing. We're just bill.
Right. Yeah. No, but seriously, I need to get better at tracking that, so I can start doing my own sort of ROI and get more insight into my timing app. Okay, I'm going to look at that. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's the one. That's my next venture. That's my next search for just the right tool, and kind of like, make that all happen. Make that trigger reports.
Yeah, my next big thing is trying to figure out a way to stand up more often, because I sit at this desk all day, which is horrible for you. Yeah. So I actually got an app that's called Move. I think Move or Moves, and basically it goes off at a regularly scheduled time, and it randomizes an exercise. So it's like do 10 squats or like run around the room.
Yeah, a standing desk. I was just going to say, they make this thing called the standing desk.
I don't know if this is just me, but I cannot imagine that I can actually work at a standing desk. I should just try it out. I should just raise my thing. But it's like I just can't get past the idea that like I'm not going to be able to work at a standing desk. It just doesn't seem.
So you would like that? You're that guy that would get a standing desk and then just get a bar stool and put the bar stool up to it.
Yeah, but that is a thing. I kind of want that. There's that fancy schmancy desk where it actually like rises.
IKEA had one.
Out throughout the day, and so you're like,
yes.
It
goes without you.
Yeah, it like goes up and down. And there's the other one is Lumo. Have you seen Lumo?
I don't know.
You like put it on you, it's like a thing, and it vibrates when your posture goes bad, and it sends it to your phone. So it's to remind you to keep like good posture. And I kind of want that. I want good posture.
Oh, I want to make so many jokes right now.
Like what?
Not gonna make it. I'm not
like
gonna make
what?
it. So, nope, not gonna go there.
Oh, tell me. I have no idea where you're going with this.
Okay, good. I would like, what if, okay, so my husband has the Apple Watch, and his Apple Watch will tell him when he needs to stand up. It'll say, because it's got the motion thing on it, so it knows when he's been like sitting for too long, and it'll tell him to kind of get up and move around. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm clicking on these links that people are posting in the thing.
IKEA, I wanted the IKEA standing desk, and then when I went to go buy it, there was some problem with it, and they had to send it back, and it wasn't being sold. This was last year, right before the holidays.
It broke. It turned into a sitting desk.
Yeah, no, it goes up and down.
This upright thing, it's like I loaded it up, and I was like, who is this sexy lower back just all over my screen? I thought I opened the wrong window. I was like, ooh la la. I shouldn't have this open at work.
Oh, look at that. Oh, what is that?
You get those little back dimples.
There you go.
I'm revealing too much about myself. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. We truly appreciate it. Please tune in. If you like this episode, you caught the end of it, or you want to see the rest of it, you want to see us next week, we'll be back Wednesday, noon Eastern Standard Time. Same nerd place, same nerd channel. As always, I've been here with Patty D'Alessio from Reinvent Interactive. Patty, my wonderful friend, my beautiful muse, my guide, my guru. Thank you as always.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. And as always to you guys, optimize responsibly.
Optimize responsibly.
All right. We will see you guys next week, Wednesday, noon Eastern Standard Time. And I'll talk to you later. Bye, Patty.